Right, Tom. American Pharaoh is in there. We're just waiting for Honor Code, who takes up his spot in the outside stall. They're all in line, and we're ready for the start. They're off in the Breeders' Cup Classic.
All right, we're here. We finally made it. It's Breeders' Cup Future Stars Friday. Good morning, everyone.
It's here. It's like, honestly, it is Christmas morning. It is my birthday. It is the Breeders' Cup. And it's one of my favorite. No, seriously, like I love Future Stars Friday. You get to see all of this potential talent in one place. You can start getting a feel for next year's Triple Crown Trail. It's fun. It's fun.
Yeah, it's a big day. Breeders' Cup Juvenile, of course, the big race today. But we have 5 Breeders' Cup races in total today, 9 more coming tomorrow. We've also got a couple of great guests that we're expecting here in the next little while, including Rosie Napravnik. And then a little later on, we'll be joined by jockey Raylu Gutierrez to give us his analysis and his picks. I see Rosie Napravnik just jumped into the green room. We'll bring her in live in just a moment. So really excited about this day. Penelope, I know you've been saying all week, you got a bunch of hot takes, especially in the first race today, right?
I do. I have, like potholder hot takes. Like, Mike Joyce is on it.
He is. That's a little bit of a...
Picked my hottest take as well, so that makes me feel better.
It's a little bit of a clue as to what you're about to hear from Penelope. But look, let's kick this off with a really fun guest. As I mentioned, she's known and has been known as one of the greatest riders of all time, certainly one of the greatest female riders of all time, although, again, I just put her in as just one of the greatest riders of all time. Rosie Napravnik joining us live here. Rosie, good morning.
Hi, everybody.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. It's good to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Happy Breeders' Cup Day. And it's really, I think, poignant to have you on today, especially because this used to be Distaff Day. Distaff Day, of course, holds a special place in your heart, but it is Juvenile Day, which also holds a special place in your heart.
Yes, it does.
So we're gonna take a look back at some of the memories of some of your highlights of the Breeders' Cup, and then we're gonna want some of your analysis on some of the races today as well. Tomorrow's races, actually, the Distaff and the Classic. Before we do that, though, take us back to your first Breeders' Cup and what you remember about the way you felt on that morning.
Well, my first Breeders' Cup was actually back in 2010. And I was riding for a horse for Mike Sidham and a horse for Jonathan Shepard. And I actually ended up falling in my very first Breeders' Cup race. And I remember on a horse called Rough Sailing, it was at Churchill on the first turn, the horse slipped on the turf. But I was just like, as much anticipation that led up to that first Breeders' Cup, of all the outcomes, that's not what I had in mind. But so years later, coming down in 2012 with Shanghai Bobby was just that was really surreal for me because he was the favorite going in, and I was riding for Todd, which in itself was a great accomplishment for me, having started to ride a lot of horses for Todd, and it was just the beginning of the time in my career where I actually was, landing on some nice horses and keeping the mounts, and then, all the way to Breeders' Cup. So that was really pretty cool going into the Breeders' Cup as one of the favorites. And then, pretty much one of my favorite instructions usually came from Todd. But on any horse with any trainer was like, don't F it up. that was my favorite instructions because it means like, okay, we've done our job. This horse is ready to win. He's the favorite. And that's just, it was like that. And he didn't say that to me that day, but that was riding for Todd. I always knew the horses were ready. Mm-hmm. And, they were always live. They were always ready. And so this was like, I was like, okay, Rosie, here you are. You've finally gotten, a live mount in the Breeders' Cup. Like, this is, don't F it up. So I was just telling myself, like, but I rode well under pressure that way where I was like, ultra focused. And so Todd had actually given me some instructions that day, which he didn't have a lot of instructions to give, but he had given me some instructions like maybe the day before, and it was completely the opposite of what I was thinking. Like, it was kind of like, don't rush, don't be, I can't remember exactly, but I was like, shoot, I was going to send him. Like, I was like, man, now I'm like really confused what to do. And now I really don't want to mess it up. So, and then on the morning of the race, something had changed, whether it was the track or, something had changed, and Todd called me back into his office, or I can't remember where it was, and he's like, forget everything we talked about and do this. And I was like, yes, that was my plan. Like, all right, I'm back in focus mode where I'm like, I don't have to like panic about doing something completely different from what I was planning. So, and that's just one of the great things about riding for someone like Todd, is like, you're usually on the same page. So it freaked me out when I didn't think that we were, but we ended up on the same page. And then, I just had this attitude when I rode the race of like, I'm going to have exactly the spot I want, and everybody else is going to ride around me. And I may have taken that to like a little bit the extreme, because our fractions in the first quarter were like not something to be proud of, and the call turning for home is, and Shanghai Bobby is exhausted. And when I watch it, I'm like, oh God. But he was just that type of horse where, he was gutsy as can be, and he was just get a little unfocused. And so that's really what we were dealing with, as opposed to being exhausted, like it looked like. But you could tell once, when we turned for home, and I actually had to wait for horse to come to me because he would lose focus. It was like your Seabiscuit, right? Except we were in front. And as soon as the horse came to me on the outside, he kicked right back in. And I mean, it was so thrilling. I mean, it was like, and to finish in that race, like, I was like, just like, you did it. You didn't mess it up. Like, almost, but we got it done. So it was, that is really a great memory. He was such a cool horse to ride. He was a real playboy, kind of would throw something different at you every race. But always just the talent of the race and the heart. I loved Shanghai Bobby. I loved riding him from the first 4.5 race at Aqueduct, all the way through the Breeders' Cup and past that. He taught me a lot. I learned a lot riding that year for Todd. And he was just, it was an amazing feeling to win that race.
Well, we've got the video up here. This is you now kicking for home, opening up a little bit of a lead here. And at this point, I mean, you're thinking, just give me a little bit more. Yeah, well, we inherited the lead kind of way before I wanted to, because the leader was just kind of dying, and I had to just get into him. Like, you couldn't let up on him at all. And even though I was, riding from the turn, he just got a little unfocused. But when the gray horse comes up next to him, he's like, okay, I got it, and he's like, oh, we're still running. And so it was just, that resurgence is like, it's just amazing. I mean, he was a really incredible horse to ride.
Rosie, with since today is Future Stars Friday, could you tell me from the perspective of a jockey how you plan to ride a 2-year-old horse versus an older horse? Is there any difference?
Yeah, I mean, the 2-year-olds just aren't quite as experienced. Even when they make it to the Breeders' Cup, they have a limited number of starts. They're just starting to stretch out in the fall, really, around 2 turns. So, I mean, I think with 2-year-olds, like, the biggest thing is not to ever take anything away from them, to kind of get the best position. I mean, there's kind of few 2-year-olds that I had ridden that, were really good, closers where you just take them back and settle. Like, you got to really keep them interested. And I mean, with the exception of some turf horses, but I think, like, with the Juvenile on the dirt, like, getting the position is so, so important, and making sure you have a smooth trip. And that was one of the things that when I was riding for Steve, and especially on Untappable, she was a little bit finicky too. His instructions to me would be, I don't care what you do, make it smooth. And that's all he would say. Like, wherever you are, make sure it's smooth. Like, and that was that was, why she and I got along so well. But I think for 2-year-olds, that's so important because they just don't have the experience to kind of go plan B so quickly as the older horses do. And with the older horses, like you'll have, especially in some big races, you might have the way the race will set up turns out completely different than it ever has before, because everyone's kind of riding for position. So like I know there have been races where like I'm on an older horse who's run plenty of times, running big races, blah, blah, and has never been on the lead. And then suddenly you're in a grade 1 and you're on the lead and you're like, I hope this is okay, but like, you have to but the older horses can kind of adapt to that. And they know, they kind of know the spiel of how it goes and they're able to adjust a little bit more. With the 2-year-olds, I think, you're kind of trying to play off of what they know.
We're gonna take a look at your win aboard Untappable in a moment. But we asked you a little while ago about kind of the emotions and the excitement going into your first Breeders' Cup. I wanted to show a little bit of a video here of a jockey who's 24 years old, and she's really just made major headlines this year in Europe. Her name is Holly Doyle. Megan Devine caught up with her yesterday about everything she's accomplished this year and about her ride today aboard Mighty Gurkha in the first Breeders' Cup Juvenile race that we're going to see today. So let's take a look at that.
The Breeders' Cup World Championships attracts the best of the best from all across the world. And for the first time ever here in the US, we get Holly Doyle, the jockey who's just been taking the world by storm over in England. And Holly, this has been a year of firsts for you. Now your first Breeders' Cup World Championships. What does that feel like to be here to ride Mighty Gherkin?
It's incredible. It's been an excellent year for me. I had to pinch myself to believe the things that have happened. So to have got the ride on Mighty Gurkha for my boss Archie Watson out here, it was excellent.
Take us through this year that you've had, because it has been just absolutely incredible.
Yeah, well, we obviously we had lockdown, so I rode 160 winners last year, so I kind of had to forget the hope of riding any more than that this year. But I kind of got off to a flying start really when we came back. My boss's horses were in such good form. We had Royal Ascot. I managed to get my first Royal Ascot winner there for Alan King and Henry Ponsonby.
So you're able to break your own record from last year. Did that put a lot of pressure on you?
I've broken it, yeah. I broke it 2 or 3 weeks ago. So to get that done with, that was a good relief. So anything after that now is just a bonus. If I can ride as many winners as I can towards the end of the year, it'd be good.
And this year, of course, at Royal Ascot, you had quite the upset, 33-1 shot, I believe, with your winner there and your first winner at Royal Ascot. What was that like?
Yeah, that was amazing. Obviously, I didn't have much hope, going into the race. That horse I won on actually gave me my first ever big winner, really. So to have done it on him as well, it was, pretty surreal.
And we're here at Keeneland. What have your impressions been so far?
It's a lovely track, obviously, with all the stud farms around here. It's really picturesque and, I'm really enjoying my time.
So cool, calm and collected. On a year of first, this is just a bonus to be here at the Breeders' Cup for everything that you've been able to accomplish.
Yeah, no, it's amazing to be here. I don't put myself under too much pressure. I just want to achieve to the best of my ability and ride as well as I can.
So what do you think? Is she too cool? Is she too calm about this? Should she be a little more nervous than that?
Well, I can't talk. I was said to have had ice in my veins, but I just watching her interview, it just takes me back to kind of that time in my career where it's like you're just getting a glimpse of what could be, and you're just getting on the 33-1 shot that runs so well, and then it starts to evolve, and you just keep winning and doing well. And I mean, she seems like she's a very focused young woman and head down and blinkers on, just working toward her goals, and that's awesome. I mean, that's such an exciting year, and your first Breeders' Cup and starting to ride big races, starting to ride the good horses. That's I miss it.
Had you followed Holly, and do you follow generally? Are you keeping up with the circuit and both here and abroad and some of the big horses out there?
I keep up less than I should. So, I'm not very. I obviously know of Holly, but I'm not like super familiar with all that she's done. But yeah, I should keep up more than I do. Now there's now that I'm doing the off-track stuff, there's like 2 worlds to keep up with, and I don't think I really am able to keep up with either of them as much as I should. So I'm in a world where people are talking about the upper level event riders and horses, and I'm like, I should know who that is, and I don't. Now I've got like these 2 big, major sports that I have to keep up with, and it's just really hard to keep all the pieces in line. But I wish the best luck to Holly, and that's so exciting that she's come over here and got a great shot. So
we have a couple of comments here that were actually talking specifically about the work that you're doing these days. For those who follow ABR, you started a series called Riding with Rosie, where you've taken us behind the scenes and show us how you're retraining horses, former thoroughbreds and second careers. I know Penelope was interested in knowing a lot more about that and getting an update. Penelope, I know you had some questions about what was going on with some of Rosie's horses.
Yeah, I just was wondering how the horses are doing. And also, if you could just talk a little bit about why retired racehorses make good riding horses for a lot of disciplines, because I think that there is a unearned reputation that off the track thoroughbreds get for being hard to manage, whereas I have always found them to be so trainable. Can you talk a little bit about that?
So when I was still riding, I claimed a horse that I had ridden, and a lot of people know who he is. His name's Old Ironsides, and we call him Sugar, and he's almost 20 now, and he's like my heart horse. But it was really him that when I claimed him and I sent him to my mom, and she was kind of retraining him because I was still riding and didn't really have the time to do it. And I would come down and ride him like once a month. And, I was like, I just want to, you train him and you do all this, and I'm just going to come down and go cross country schooling, which is like the most fun thing you could ever do. And when I came down, I was just so inspired by the horse of like how happy he was, how willing to please he was, how the development in his training every time I would come down. I'm just like, God, wow. Like it seems like it would have been natural for me to think about retraining horses even at that point, but I was still in such jockey mood that I didn't even think about it. But when I retired and I kind of took off in that direction, I realized like it was really that horse that sent me that way. And it was the retrainability. They're so adaptable, and like thoroughbreds compared to other horses they have so much heart, but they're so like out to please. And that's where like, a lot of people talk about how they're like a little bit high strung and, they're racy. They learned how to be racehorses. Yes. But a lot of it comes from just being so sensitive, and trying to please so hard that they get upset if they can't, if they don't understand something yet. They'll get a little bit worried that, they're not able to please you. And it's just that heart where they have, they want to have a partnership with you, and they want to do what you're asking. And so I have learned so much in the last 6 years of, how to make that communication happen so that they're not getting worked up because they don't understand it yet. You have to kind of figure out how to speak the language of explaining it to where they can really take it in stride and understand it. And then they just do the world for you. They will give you the world. And I've had a blast training. I can't even, I've lost count now how many horses have kind of come through my program in the last couple of years. It's just starting to, snowball, and they're just coming in and moving along, and it's so fun. It's so rewarding. Yeah. It's so rewarding to watch them develop mentally, physically, and then the makeover has totally just given me like in the beginning it really gave me like a goal, like an end game kind of at the end of the year of where to how to develop the horses. And to the point where I was almost depending on the makeover to do that. And then I had to realize like, okay, the makeover is not, the training of horses, but it was able to like sort of shape the program into the timeline. And now, the timeline's a little bit shorter and the horses are getting trained a little bit more efficiently. So I've just been like learning and doing. And I'm addicted to getting a new horse and putting that first ride on them, that's my favorite part. And, you know, I think knowing where the horses are coming from, as far as what they know, where they've been, and what they're used to, it allows me to be so at ease with transitioning them, because I'm just familiar with them.
Yeah.
And so, like, my typical first post racetrack ride, I take them out by themselves and I go on basically like a trail ride, but they go through water, they go, you know, through ditches, they go up banks, and they do all these things that are kind of natural for horses to do when they're living, like, you know, in a natural way. And each question that we come to, you know, they have the opportunity to figure out how to trust me. And so each question that we come to, they trust me a little bit more, and they trust me a little bit more. And then we do that for, like, you know, a week or however long it takes them, where they don't question me anymore. And then, you know, kind of just wipes the slate clean and gives them, you know, just a new perspective. And then they're just willing to really accept all the other things that I ask of them, you know? And so it's become a really solid program that I've sort of unintentionally built. But it's so exciting. The makeover being canceled or postponed this year kind of threw a couple of things off. One of the horses that I was working with is definitely not going to be competing next year. And I'm not really sure whether or not No Buts About It will be competing, but I have, like, so many others that could fill those spots. So we will definitely be doing something with the makeover next year. You can have up to 5 horses in the mega makeover. So they're going to have a division for 2020 horses, which will have 2 years of training, which is going to be so fun to watch, because these horses will be so much further along. And then they're going to have the 2021 division for the horses that have just a year. So I'm really excited about that. I don't even know who's going to be competing next year, but I'm excited about whoever it is, because we've got, like, plenty, and I probably don't even have the horses in my barn yet that'll be competing. So that's super exciting. And then Sanimo is the horse that won the eventing division at the makeover last year, and he is doing phenomenal. I'm actually down in sunny Florida in Ocala for an event this weekend.
No way.
Yes, I'm in Florida right now. So during Breeders' Cup tomorrow, actually, we're done by like 12:30, so I'll still be able to watch all the coverage. But yeah, so we came down to Florida for like a new venue and like a last event of the season, and the competition's a little bit tougher down here. It's a new place, but I'm super excited. He's just done so well. He's moved up to another level this year, and we're getting ready to hop back on board with the videos after a crazy summer of COVID and brain surgeries and all kinds of crazy stuff going on. So we're going to be lighting up those videos again, and Sanimo is probably going to be the highlight of that. And then I've just got tons of horses in the program that I'd love to share with everybody. So lots of exciting things going on.
I'm so excited. So wait, I have a really quick question circling back to Old Ironsides. Am I making this up, or did the Clancy team ride him in the Real Rider Cup this year?
Not the Clancy team, no.
Though, right?
He actually Old Ironsides had 3 rides in the Real Rider Cup. So Jordan Springer rode him. She was former jockey, and then Joe literally like started getting back on horses because of the Real Rider Cup. He was like, okay, at the time I don't want to miss the Real Rider Cup. He loves doing it. Joe has competed Old Ironside Sugar in the New Vocations Thoroughbred Horse Show. He's done, the Real Rider. He loves doing like the jumping and stuff. Like it makes him really nervous. He like loves to do it. And so he was like, well, I have to get back on horses now. And he actually like told me he was getting back on horses like a week after he started, because he knew I would be like, oh, wait. But he did it on Sugar, and then I did it on Sugar because I wasn't able to do it on Sanimo because of his competition schedule, and then all my other horses were like too green, though they're not jumping that high yet. So I'm like, I'm gonna have to ride Sugar, and I got so excited. I'm like, I get to ride Sugar. Like I don't normally get to ride him very often. He's teaching my students now, so that was super fun. But he did 3 excellent rounds, and they're so fun to watch.
Yeah, they were. And, as you said, he's 20, right?
He's going to be 20 in 2021, yeah.
So how cool is it that an off-the-track thoroughbred who was running, as you said, claiming level, like, not like a horse that worked hard to run,
Yes, he did.
Sound and able to do 3 rounds of a virtual horse show, like no problem. I love that.
Yeah, and not only that, but Sugar actually has like a laundry list of previous injuries that he had. When I claimed him, I knew that he had a condylar fracture in front and a condylar fracture behind. And then when we got him, he was lame, and he came out of the race sore, and he had an existing chip in a left front ankle, which we were advised not to remove. So he still has a chip in his left ankle. I guess the location of it and the size of the chip, it was best off to just leave it there. And then he had an old suspensory injury, and he has never been unsound a day in his life since I've had him. And he competed to the training level, which is jumping like 3'3", which is the level that Sanimo is now competing at. So he's done it all, and he still gets so excited to like go jumping and like go cross country. And I had the working students on him in the spring, just like getting back hacking, and I would put the younger kids on him, and he was like the worst one. He was like putting in place and like getting all nervous, like I can't stand still, like he's still such a 5-year-old. It's so fun to it's silly to watch him. He's just like, he's been such a big part of my life. I just love that horse.
Yeah, I love that. And, just speaking about like thoroughbreds off the track, I ride up in a barn in the Bronx here in New York City. There are 6, I think, off the track thoroughbreds in our program, and they are all just chill. Like in the middle of like, ambulances going by, like block party, like it's amazing because a lot of these horses who have been on the track, they don't bat an eye at the noise. They don't care.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah,
it's a really neat thing to say. I was on a 20-year-old off the track thoroughbred last night doing a jumper course with tight turns, and his legs hold up just fine. He can do that.
The more you keep them going, the longer they stay going. Like if you give them a break, they start to get old, but they love to just do and go and go and do. So yeah, I get it.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I identify most with thoroughbreds is that they get stressed out by not working. Like such a huge same.
I'm with you there.
For those just tuning in, we're here with 2-time Kentucky Oaks winning jockey and 2-time Breeders' Cup winning jockey on this Future Stars Friday Breeders' Cup 2020, Rosie Napravnik. If you've got questions, we've got a few minutes left with Rosie. We encourage you to send them in. We might be able to squeeze 1 or 2 in. But let's get to the big one. 6 years ago on this weekend, Breeders' Cup Distaff used to be on Breeders' Cup Friday, used to be on this day. Rosie, take us, before we actually watch the race with you, just kind of take us back to that morning as well, and what was going through your mind? Because there were a lot of things beyond the race that obviously were circulating at that moment.
Yes. So I was riding. I rode for about a month while I was pregnant, and but I was still like staying very focused. I was really good at doing that. But the fact that I was going to retire was like such a juicy secret. Like I couldn't even call my agent because he's kind of a nervous guy. And I knew that he would be like, oh my God, I got to get another jockey. Oh my God. And so I'm like, he's going to not be able to keep that a secret because he's going to be looking for someone. And if he's looking for someone, people are going to wonder why. But I was like scared to tell him because I didn't want to like just drop. Like I was just so scared to tell anybody, like, because it was so juicy. So Joe actually
juicy is the word of the day now. That's it.
Because there is no faster or really more inaccurate gossip network than the one that exists on the backstretch of a racetrack.
Yes. So I was like, nobody knows. Like, that's the only way this is going to work, And so I actually made Joe call him after I'd gotten on the plane to fly out to Breeders' Cup and tell him. So I didn't even tell my agent. I was too scared to tell him. And then I had to tell Kelly Witsma, who was handling my media stuff. I had to prepare her, and I knew she could keep it quiet. But I really couldn't tell my mother. I was like, there's no way. And then I was just contemplating like how I'm going to make this announcement. And I was like, I kind of want it to be like on a TV interview so that people can see like genuinely coming from me and like what the deal is. And so there's not like rumors flying everywhere about, you know, what's going on. And so I was like literally just contemplating all that morning of like how I was going to do it. And I was like, I don't want to do it on this day because I didn't want to do it on Friday because I still had to ride on Saturday. So, and then I was like, I don't want to do it on Saturday because then you have the classic and then like, you know, all the news gets mixed up in each other. I was like, so I texted my sister and I was like, I'm just going to wait till Sunday and put it out in the forum. And that's like the best way to do it. And then, you know, here we go. And, you know, I was again, well, 2 years after Shanghai Bobby, I'd ridden enough big races and on enough good horses that I was totally confident. And the only thing that made me a little less confident was like, it would be too good if we won, you know? So I just had that little fear in the back of my, like, it would be too good if we won this, you know? And then I almost won on Tacitus. And at the 3/8 pole, I was such a winner on that horse. I still can't believe we were second, but I mean, we were second by a while, but but like if I had won on Tacitus, I don't think I would have made the announcement. And then, you know, when the filly ran, like she was just so like, she and I were just like, so, you know, we like just get each other. And Steve used to talk about that too. And I'm like, well, it doesn't seem that complicated to me, but I know what you mean. And so it was another like kind of brain game for that race because, you know, I knew we were going to end up a little bit wide. And again, like the instructions were always like, keep it smooth. And so in that race, like the best we could do is I just had to let her be wide. Mm-hmm. And there were some really tough mares in there. You know, Close Hatches, I think just didn't run her race that day. And, but like I had to just sit and look and see where everybody was and just forgive myself for losing all the ground, coming from the outside. But we got a good position, like in relative to where the other, you know, the horses to beat were. And I had to let Close Hatches get around me on the first turn and, you know, just like gulp and say, it's okay. I'm on the best horse. You know, it was one of those don't panic, you're on the best horse rides. Just relax and just let her be the best horse. And that's all I could do in that race. And she was so the best horse that day.
We're just watching this replay right now. She is wide, but she does look just so
relaxed.
Calm. She is in her wheelhouse. Like she's like, I think also you not worrying about being wide helps the horse not worry about being wide, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a challenging race to ride. Like I said, you have to forgive yourself for where I am right now. Like I'm watching it going like, oh my God, would Steve have killed me if we didn't? You know, but again, it was smooth. And here, like, I just went, you know, I'm coming around the turn and it was, you know, it was like when I won the Oaks, like, I just knew we were going to win that race, except for that little, like, it'll be too good. But like here was, this was awesome. And actually a funny little secret is Joe Rocco Jr.'s wife is a really good friend of mine. So she actually knew that I was pregnant. And so he actually knew that I was pregnant. And so he he finishes second in this race and he's like, I almost didn't want to beat you, but I really did, you know, like he was like, he knew what story was coming to at the finish line as well. So it was funny. And so you can see us talking after the race, I think.
Oh,
and then after the race, I'm just like, you know, I have this swell of emotions and like, you know, I don't even know how that announcement happened, but I knew I could take it back before the words floated out of my mouth.
I was just going to say, this is now, you know, part of the beginning of that, you know, on stage post race. And I'm sure, I mean, this had to have been as nerve wracking as the race itself, just knowing what was about to, you know, come out of your mouth in a few moments.
Yeah. And one of my biggest fears was like, Steve's going to be so mad at me for retiring because she's running. And he was really adamant about us as a pair. So I'm like, God, he's going to be so mad at me. You know, I mean, that was like one of the thoughts that went through my head when I like found out I was pregnant. But like in these moments where I'm like, contemplating about making this announcement. Like, I know I was like, my mom's gonna be so mad at me if I don't, if I announce it this way and she didn't know about it. Like, she won't forgive me. So that's why I had to pull her up on stage. But I was literally, and I could have given Lafitte like a little heads up, but I knew that I could take it back right before the words came out of my mouth. So I was just very undecided about what was gonna happen next.
Yeah, I remember your mom too. It's like so cute.
Yeah,
great.
Yeah.
Here it is.
And it was funny because I was like, bring my mom up on stage, and the TV guys were like, no, and I'm like, bring her up. And like we almost had to like bring her up. And then poor Lafitte, I still like apologize to him every time I see him. Like, I'm sorry, I could have given you a heads up, but I knew I could just not say it. Until I said it. So this is actually like one of the most vulnerable moments of my life. It makes me really uncomfortable to watch.
Okay, to in your best interest, we'll remove it because I know it's got to be emotional to look back on it.
I show it to all of my nannies so that they cry.
Well, look at this comment. I mean, I don't cry often, but rewatching Rosie telling her mom in the winner's circle that she was retiring broke me. Happy
tears, the important kind.
Well, what's funny, the funniest part is that after we were off camera and like moving off stage, my mom was like, "Are you pregnant?" Yes, Mom, you got it.
Nailed it.
Mom move. I love
like,
that.
Wait a minute, I just have to make sure I know what's going on here. Are you pregnant? Like, that's what that was about.
You nailed it.
You got it.
We have a question that I actually we have some questions from the audience. Do you have the time?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, awesome.
The children are sitting like 5 feet from me watching a show on the other side of the glass doors. Until they interrupt me, I'm good.
All right, perfect. I understand. So a great username, Teen Custard, asked, do mares have a bigger personality than the Stallions?
I can't say that mares have a bigger like when you say personality, I think of Shanghai Bobby. So I can't say, it's different, but it's, and then off track, there's this, there's some people that are like mare people and some people that are not mare people, and I have only just recently started working with mares off the track, and they were, like finicky little fillies were kind of my forte on the track, and I've never haven't had the opportunity to work with one until this summer. Off the track. But, I've realized it's almost sometimes related to like, human females. And it's like mares, I think, are just like so passionate about what they feel. Like if you're not on board, it's not going to work out. You've got to be on board with what the mare is thinking. Like they have strong personalities. I can't say they have more personality because like Shanghai Bobby was like, he's the epitome of personality. And plenty of other geldings and stallions. But mares, like they know what they want and they know what they don't want. And so getting along with mares, just like getting along with some women, is important. That's what I can tell you.
My dad always told me when I was a kid learning to ride, you can tell a gelding, you can ask a stallion, but you're going to discuss your options with a mare.
Yeah.
Sir Japes-a-lot on Periscope asks, what race on the undercard today are you most excited for?
I don't have a great answer for that because I haven't looked at the undercard.
Yeah, these are like, hardcore handicapping questions, even though you told people.
No, I'm not hardcore handicapping right now. I mean, I know the big players, and I'm really excited for both the distaff and the classic because I think those are both really, really, I love to watch the big, like if I could just swoop in and just ride the big races, I would come back in a heartbeat. Like it would take so long to get fit, like
you're even gonna hear this, Rosie.
Only Mike Smith is like
right.
Just the big races.
The Mike Smith plan, exactly.
Yeah, I wish I could be on the Mike Smith plan. But the classic and the distaff are like, I'm so excited to watch them. I can't wait, and I'm sad that I have to wait till tomorrow.
Well, here's the question from Stephanie here. She wants to know, who is it? Swiss skydiver, Monomoy girl?
I don't know, but it's gonna be so fun to watch. Like, so in these years of my life, like I don't really have an iron in the fire anywhere unless Joe has a horse in one of the big races. So like it doesn't matter who wins to me. I don't care. I just am gonna get to watch like a phenomenal horse race from start to finish with Swiss Skydiver and Monomoy Girl. And same in the classic. Like I'm just really excited to watch the big horses run today or tomorrow.
I've loved listening to you and Penelope discuss horses because you're so tied to the horse on a very sort of natural, instinctive level. And for me, as more of a handicapper better, I try to make projections about horses based on run cycles and the way they're coming up to a race and what they just came out of. I wonder from your perspective, when you look at a horse like Swiss Skydiver, after everything she gave in the Preakness, which came only about a month after a really grueling effort in the Kentucky Oaks, do you think that's a challenge for her to come back now again here against a really tough group and come with another third straight sort of big high exertion effort here in the distaff tomorrow?
It's definitely something to think about, but also she's just in like such great form. Like when a horse has that kind of confidence, it's you use that to like your complete advantage. So I mean, it's hard. I have no idea who's going to win that race. I mean, she's an incredible filly. Her numbers have been fantastic. The race could set up well for her, and then you have Monomoy Girl, and it's like, and she's been off for a while. Monomoy Girl hasn't run since September, so I don't know if I would be more concerned about not having a race or having run 2 big races. There's there's factors in both of those, but I mean, I would say Swiss Skydiver is probably on top of the world, and you hope she hasn't run a race in the Preakness, but I mean, I'm excited to watch it run.
Yeah.
With the exception of being disqualified in the Cotillion, Monomoy Girl has crossed the finish line first. She hasn't won, but she's crossed the finish line first in 10 straight races. Prior to that, lost by a neck. Her career is incredible. Her stat line reads 14 wins, 14 starts, 12 wins. Nearly all of them coming in Grade 1, Grade 2 company. You know what it means to end a horse's career, presumably on a super high note. What do you think that whole camp is going through as they're heading into this race tomorrow?
It's the same thing. It's like you have that little bit. Will it be too good to be true? But at the same time, like I was looking at her form last night, and I'm just like, what a race! You know what I mean? Like it's insane. And so, Swiss Skydiver is going to have to be absolutely 1000% to beat her. And I don't know, she's fresh. She hasn't run since the beginning of September. And that would probably be my biggest concern, with her. But at the same time, like she's had races spaced out. So it's, she from July to September. So she obviously runs well fresh. So, I mean, I'd be scared of that form if I was running against it. I can tell you that.
Rosie, so my friend Alicia Hughes, who was on the show earlier this week, called me yesterday, and she was like, "You're not going to believe this. I watched Monomoy Girl go out this morning with a stablemate, whose name just went out of my head.
One of the other Brad Cox beasts.
Yeah, one of the other
Brad, many.
A good horse.
Yeah.
And she lapped him, galloping. Like, lapped him. What does that say to you as somebody, like, if you heard that your mount going into such a big race was that keen, are you happy about that, or are you nervous about that?
You know what? I saw her gallop the other day too, and I didn't even see her go a full round or anything. This was on a video, but she looked phenomenal. Yeah. And as long as they're doing it the right way, and I highly doubt that Monomoy Girl is like running off and frantically, and maybe perhaps the stablemate, if he was really lapped, perhaps he's a horse that doesn't really put as much into his gallops. But I mean, especially on a fresh horse, she's fresh horse. Like, so I love to see them training like that. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I mean, that's their one job to do every day. And if they're enjoying it and enthusiastic about it, that's awesome. As long as they're, not using too much of themselves. But the way, from what I saw of her galloping, she looks phenomenal.
Cool. Sorry, I'm going to just really quickly ask another question, because I absolutely love this from our audience. Charlie Covell says, what would be the one piece of advice you would give to female riders today? It can be two if you want.
This question. So I feel like if you're going to focus on, like, how many times have I got the question about the obstacles that female riders have to endure and blah, blah, blah. I think what makes the difference between a female rider, did you say female?
Mm-hmm.
That's just an advice for female rider.
Because there's a difference between that and just a young rider. But anyway, so for a female rider, I think the difference between a female rider that does well and a female rider that does really, really well, like coming over from Europe to Holly riding here and, doing super well, winning big races like Julie Crone stuff. The difference is, to me, what I've figured out, this is the best answer that I can come up with, because I've never known the answer, and then I realized it recently. So when you had, like, Julie's famous story of, they wouldn't let me in the stable gate, so I climbed over the fence. A lot of female riders look at the challenges that are presented to them, or the obstacles that are presented, and they say, I'm going to do whatever it takes to bypass that. And then you have female riders that don't see them. They don't see them. They're just not there. Like, if the gate's closed, you go over the fence. And so that is what that is the difference. Like, I never saw a reason why a female jockey wouldn't have as much success as a male. And I would say there were many more advantages to me being female than there were disadvantages. For example, I did the exact same thing how many years have the Kentucky Oaks run?
130. Yeah.
Okay, so 130 something people have won that race, but I got so much more credit for it. I mean, am I right or am I right?
Yeah,
right?
That's interesting.
There have been interviews.
But you did it so well. You did it so well. Take some credit.
I mean, yeah, I rode the race well, but I mean, there are advantages to being a female. You only have to do the same thing that guy did, and you're going to get twice as much credit because no one thought you could do it. So what? Who cares? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, to me, there's a lot of advantages to being female, and that's what you have to focus on, not the reasons that it's hard, because life's hard. I mean, I can tell you this. I'm going through a project where I'm building an indoor arena at my farm, and there have been like multiple problems with the excavation, and building is like it's really really stressful. And so I've been going back with the excavator and the builder, and I'm like, I think this is what needs to be done. And they kind of just been like brushing me off. And the excavator has made so many mistakes. And I said to Joe the other day, I was like, I have never in my life felt like my gender has affected me so much as this project, working with these men who think I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm like, this really hurt my feelings. This is what people think I was going through all through my career, but I didn't. Now my feelings are hurt. I feel like I'm being written off because I'm a small woman, and that is really pissing me off.
You go out there with a stick, Rosie.
Yeah, I'm like, let me get in that bulldozer. I'll show you how this is done. But I mean, that for me, I saw so many more advantages, and I would say I was given 99% of the opportunities that I deserved.
All right. Just want to say, Rose, first of all, thank you for answering so candidly and so completely. Those are great insights, and love the personal anecdotes. Before we let you go, because you've been so generous with your time, we've got to ask you about the Breeders' Cup Classic. You know the big names: Tis the Law, Improbable, Authentic, Maximum Security. What do you think? And I actually saw a question earlier that said, which one would you pick if you could ride the race?
Oh, if I could ride the race, no, I can't answer that question now. It's too long to figure it out. Okay, so I love this race as well. I love Maximum Security. I think he is probably the best horse in the race. I think it's, Authentic and Maximum Security are definitely going to be the speed of the race. Mm-hmm. And I think either of them are capable of winning it. I like Authentic as well. But considering that those two are the speed of the race, you could have a horse like Al Stall's horse. How do you say that horse's name?
Ramsday Totten. Thank you so much. That's my horse.
You just made Penelope's day.
Yeah, so you could have a horse like that come and, make a big effort closing. I love By My Standards. I'm slightly biased because my father-in-law trains that horse, but I love that horse. And he's been super consistent too and is running really good numbers. And then Tis the Law is obviously freakishly good. So I have no answer for you at all.
We let you get away. We let you get away with no answer in the distaff. You got to give us something here in the class.
Okay. So am I picking a winner? Do you want me to pick a winner?
Yeah, give us a winner. Come on.
Okay. All right. Hold on. Maximum Security.
Okay.
All right.
So he's on the outside, which is better as a speed horse. I think I'm going to pick Maximum Security.
We have a running joke here, and Stephanie, who's been watching the shows all week, said Dan is really hoping for her to say Tacitus. That's like, I want him to finally have his day in the sun. Tell me something positive about Tacitus. Come on.
Okay. He's a rabbit. I love.
Okay. It's a positive. Okay.
He is trained by Bill Mott, which I also love.
Okay.
Very
and he has run 3 triple-digit numbers in a row. He also will be sitting off. He loves the distance. Mm-hmm. He will be sitting off the pace on the saving ground and could get a phenomenal trip sitting right in the pocket, right behind Maximum Security and Authentic, and could just swoop right out the outside and win it all.
High five.
Yes.
Boom. I love it. That's what I'm saying. And he's 20-1. I want a long shot. I want something exciting to happen.
Yep.
That would be exciting.
This is such an exciting, like I said, the thing is, like, I've never been a bettor. I don't even really know how to bet. But I don't care who wins the race. That's the problem. That's why I don't make a pick, because I don't care who wins it. Like, we're going to get to watch all of these phenomenal horses run in a race together. And then we just get to see how it plays out. That's for me. That's how I do it. That's my take on it. Unless Joe's in the race, and then he's absolutely going to win.
That's fair. That's totally fair.
All
and
right.
I will make a case for his horse every single time. But he only enters when he thinks he's really live. So, and then I get the inside scoop of how live the horse actually is.
I can't tell you how much fun this past hour has been. I know we've taken you longer than we initially thought, but the conversation has been so good. So we just rolled right through it. Rosie, it's an honor and a thrill to have you on. And we really are looking forward to seeing more riding with Rosie and following your journey here in the coming months and coming years.
We've got some good stuff coming for you. So I'm super excited. Thank you so much for having me on this morning. I love to get back into my racing head once in a while.
Thank you so much for coming on. This has been so much fun.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Happy Breeders' Cup. Well, that was fun.
That was so fun. She's so cool.
that was a lot of fun. That was really.
Can we just do this once a week, and I can just talk about off the track thoroughbreds with her forever. That's all I want to do is get her expertise on thoroughbreds and run it through the lens of retraining them off the track. Is anyone down with that?
I'm sure the viewers are. I learned a lot just listening to you both talking. That was really, really cool, and I really have learned a lot from that series that I mentioned, Riding with Rosie. Mm-hmm. I had no concept at all of what it took to, as you heard Rosie say, get horses to trust you, like taking them through those initial obstacles, helping them see things and saying, hey, this is okay. This won't bite you. It's okay. You know, everything's all right. And that's been really fascinating to see. You could actually see it in process during these videos, which I've absolutely loved.
No, it's so cool. And I loved her talking about how smart they are and how willing to please. Because I always tell people who are getting into off the track thoroughbreds as riding horses, I'm like, they will give you everything in the world. You just have to learn how to ask them. And it's just, they're so great. I love them so much.
Before we wrap up for the day, as a reminder, we're back at 9:00 Eastern tomorrow morning for Breeders' Cup Saturday. We've got a couple more great guests lined up tomorrow, including Raylu Gutierrez, who is a late cancellation today. We'll get Raylu on tomorrow.
You had the chance to say late scratch. Why?
He was a late scratch. Why didn't I use that?
What the heck, man?
You see, because you're drinking coffee, I'm still drinking water. I need to get with it. So, but let's do this. Let's
like 9:00 in the morning. How are you not on your 7th coffee? Like water. Water is an afternoon time beverage. Mornings are for coffee.
That's fair. I've learned that. I mean, and look, trying to keep up with you, I should know better. Like you're like, always high energy.
Like I'm so over caffeinated right now. I can blink my ears and like it wouldn't be weird.
2:30 Eastern today. The first Breeders' Cup race is the Juvenile Turf Sprint. It's also the start of the Pick 5. Wesley Ward has a very strong hand here. Won the race last year with 4-wheel drive. Has a couple of horses here who looked really, really imposing, including Golden Paldra on the outside. Penelope is having none of that. She wants a 20-1 shot. Penelope, who are we betting in the Juvenile Turf Sprint?
We're singling Lip is Honor. We just are. Singling. Okay, maybe don't single him, but like put him in your exotics.
All right, I like it. I'm going to go with the other Ward. After 5, the 9-horse got a very sort of passive ride by Irad Ortiz in the Futurity and ended up finding himself in last off the turn for home. He really turned it on late, finished second there. This is a horse who's still a maiden. I think you might get 5 or 6 to 1 on him, as opposed to Golden Pal on the outside, who's going to be much shorter. I think both have an equal shot, especially given the better draw, I think, for after 5. So that's the one I'm going with in that race. But hey, look, if you want, box them. Use Penelope's Lip is Honor. 20 to 1 is a lot more exciting than what I said.
It's probably going to be 30 to 1 at race time. I would not be surprised. Like I'm not pretending like this is the most sensible choice, but for some reason I am all in. And if it works out, like bombs away, I'm going to have a good time shopping for my family this holiday season. But if it doesn't, like whatever, it's not like I'm going to bet a fortune on him. I'm just going to have some fun. JD Varnell has asked, what do I think about Gretzky the Great in tomorrow's turf? Gretzky the Great in today's Juvenile turf.
Yep, that's the next race we're going to look at. Yep.
Yeah.
What do you think?
That's my horse.
Okay. All right. That's your pick. All right.
Gretzky the Great, see? He's 1 for 1 at the distance. There's not a ton of speed in the race, the way I looked at it. So I think he might get his way out front. And I just have a lot of faith in Mark Casse at the Breeders' Cup.
I like that. That's a very safe way to play this race. And maybe not safe because I think the horse will be a price as well, but a very strong angle. Race 7 is the Juvenile Turf today. It's the start of the Pick 4. Structer won this race last year. In years past, it's been a mix of European winners, American winners. Aidan O'Brien has won this race 4 times. Ryan Moore has won this race 4 times. They team up on number 9, Battleground, who was a Group 2 winner last out at Goodwood, won over soft ground in a stakes race prior to that too. His only loss, though, came on debut going left-handed, which is what he's going to be doing here. In terms of horses who have excelled going left-handed, the number 1, Seal Away, who won the Jean-Luc Lagardère by 8 lengths last out, is a horse who also, only time going left-handed, won easily. And so Seal Away for me is a bit of a price. The rail going this distance at Keeneland on the turf has been where you want to be. And so I love Seal Away in the Juvenile Turf.
All right. It's a good one.
Juvenile Phillies, race 8. Really nice field. Princess Noor is probably the headliner on the outside. You've got Simply Ravishing down on the rail with some speed. Where did you land on this one, Penelope?
So, okay, I'm going to preface this by saying that I on purpose did not pick any favorites in any of my Breeders' Cup handicapping because I don't tend to play multi-race wagers like a pick 3 or a pick 4. Mm-hmm. I like to play races individually. So I'm trying to buck the system. I'm trying to make money race by race. So I landed on Nyquist, the Nyquist filly. It's just like the favorites I think are going to be very much favorites. I think this is the shortest field in the Breeders' Cup, correct? With just 7 entrants.
It is. Yep.
So like she might be, I think there's a lot of early speed in the race. She might be able to settle behind it. Like last time she did finish second, but she also went 4 wide. For a 2-year-old, that's a lot to overcome. I mean, we watched Rosie talking about Shanghai Bobby, getting the trip and stuff like that. But to go 4 wide around the turn for home makes that horse have to run so much further than the other horses. So I'm willing to give that an excuse. And then she's been working out, getting ready for this race really, really well at Keeneland. She clearly loves this surface. So I'm trying to make some money. I think I'm going to go with her to do it.
Penelope, we don't often have this, but we have consensus. I am in complete agreement. I think you're
hands of happiness.
So let's leave it at that. I'm with you. The 2 horse.
We should have said it at the same time.
We should. The one time we would have said the same thing. Race 9, Juvenile Phillies Turf. Winner of this race last year was Sharing, trained by Graham Motion. He comes back with a really nice filly here, the 3 horse Alda. That's a horse who I like in this race, finished second.
We said it at the same time.
Oh, did we agree in 2 races in a row? Come on. What's that?
Can you see that? It says Alda.
I mean, I just... I can't see it exactly, but I'll take – look, I believe you. So Alda it is. We both agree. I do want to point out, though, with this race in particular, there were some strong European horses, including Campanelle on the outside, the 10 horse, again for Wesley Ward with Frankie Dettori up. Frankie Dettori, as most people know, 14-time Breeders' Cup winner. He's a jockey. You got to consider everything he's on live this weekend.
Yeah.
So that one's going to take a lot of money.
Europe.
Absolutely. Look, and Europeans – even though this race has been won 6 straight years by a U.S.-based horse, Europeans have hit the board at big prices in this race over the past few years. So definitely take a look at those. Is there anybody else you wanted to mention in the Juvenile Phillies Turf?
Yes. Plum Ollie, fabulous she. No, I'm not going to do the entire Latin song, but I cannot help it with her name. I'm a normal 39-year-old woman, I promise. She's just so talented. I don't know if the pace scenario is going to benefit her here. I don't like. This is one where there's a part of my heart that really just wants her to win because I like her a lot. She's so gutsy. But there's another race with just a lot of speed in it. So I would put her in your exotics because she just has the courage to do really well despite a pace scenario that doesn't necessarily benefit her with her running style. But also, I just want to be able to sing her name all afternoons. I suppose there's nothing stopping me.
You can do it tomorrow. If she wins, that'll be the thing. Tomorrow we'll start the show with you singing. That'll be automatic incentive for people to tune in when we're back live tomorrow at 9 Eastern. But let's wrap up this show with race 10, the Juvenile, the feature today. 5 of the last 7 winners were California-based, including Nyquist, who won the last time this race was run at Keeneland in 2000.
At the same time.
What's that?
Or pick.
Oh, okay. I think you have an idea. I don't think you're going to go with this one, but let's go. 3, 2, 1. Rombauer.
No. Oh, the was my second choice. So.
All right, not too far off. What do you like about sitting on go?
Well, I don't know because I can't read my writing.
That's fair. I can make a little case for you if you want.
He goes in this very speedy race. He put in the fastest workout of the day of 33 horses the last time he worked out in the morning in preparation for this race. And that includes, he's working out at the same time as older horses, more experienced horses. So we know he's got that fast speed that would really benefit him with the short turn for home. Because at Keeneland, the finish line for this race is different from finish lines of other races for this distance. So the finish line at Keeneland for the mile and a 16th is closer to the turn for home than the finish line for other races. So for a horse to be able to close and win, they have to be really, really fast when they decide to turn on the speed. That workout tells me that he might be able to do it. So I think, like, again, I'm not trying to take away from any of the horses who are shorter odds than him. Like, I think Jackie's Warrior is a formidable horse and is a very worthy favorite. I'm just trying to beat favorites today. So that's what I'm doing.
I'm with you. Speaking of post, by the way, we talked about some post position things to consider in the mile turf races where being drawn outside is really, really bad. Same thing to a lesser extent here, mile and a 16th, a mile or longer on the dirt. Horses on the outside are going to have some trouble post 8 and outward going a mile or longer on the dirt at Keeneland in the most recent meet. 3 winners from 29 starters, only 1 winner from post 9 outward. So really difficult. That being said, I kind of like I said, I like Rombauer, who's drawn 13. Look, Rombauer might not win, but I think this horse improved significantly in his first dirt try last out in the American Pharoah Stakes. Finished second, was almost 5 lengths clear of the third place finisher. I think we're going to get a good price there. If you want another horse who's kind of a little bit of a safer play and who has a better draw, I think Reinvestment Risk is a horse to consider. This is the one who's been running second to Jackie's Warrior time and time again. But Jackie's Warrior has been fast enough to get clear and it's been able to settle down on the front here. If Jackie's Warrior takes pressure today, maybe Reinvestment Risk can capitalize on that. And with a situation that he hasn't really had before. So Reinvestment Risk for me is sort of a more logical play and a safer play in the Juvenile.
Yeah, you know, there's a funny thing about Rombauer that actually made me like him more, which it shouldn't, but it does. So you mentioned he is on the, he's outside. He's starting the race from what is traditionally not a great place to start from. However, also, this is not a traditionally good thing. He's terrible at the start of races. Like, he misses the break. He starts a step behind everyone else. Like, he just is very slow out of the starting gate. I actually think that'll work to his advantage this time because I'm serious.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Behind everyone, that gives him the opportunity to close that gap to the rail without having to be super, super fast with everyone else trying to get there and get to the front. He can just take a much more easy route, settle in behind what's probably going to be very fast opening half mile, and then make a move. Like, he could use a bad break to his advantage coming from that outside starting gate stall. Dan, am I as crazy as I sound, or am I like crazy like a fox?
I think there's absolutely something to that, especially if the pace is hot. You're going to be wanting to come from off the pace. Now, again, at Keeneland, I don't know how far off the pace you want to be. I think you want to stay within range, but I agree with you. As opposed to trying to get an alert break here from the 13 and getting caught out wide, it might work to Rombauer's advantage to start a step slow.
Right. Like, if that is his natural tendency to kind of just wander out of the starting gate, let it happen and use that as a feature, not a bug.
All right, so it is almost 10 after 10 on the East Coast here. We've got the flashing red light here. Stay tuned to these channels all day. If you're watching on America's Best Racing channels, we'll have a lot of great content coming in from Keeneland. We have people on the ground at Keeneland who will be sending in video and live reporting and a range of updates from the track. If you're watching on Breeders' Cup channels, stay here. A lot of live video throughout the day and great coverage from Keeneland as well. We will see you back here same time tomorrow, same place, 9 a.m. Eastern. For Penelope Miller, I'm Dan Tordjman. Happy Future Stars Friday.